We're live. Welcome to NASCAR Live Chat with Hamm, the Engine Man.
Better late than never.
And we got special guests today. Actually, we got two guests. I guess you can call Tracy a guest or
Yeah, because
usual.
it's been a while since I've been on.
She's special.
Yeah, she's very special. We have Pam Ford
Extra
with us
special.
today. So Pam Ford was
up,
Pam Ford was a NASCAR official. You can introduce yourself if you would, please.
I was an official for 7 seasons, somewhere in there, 6.5, 7 seasons in 04 to 2011, and did the official thing.
04 to 2011, and I was there from 95 to 2001. So you were obviously
there was a gap in there before I started.
Yes.
Yep.
But the last race I went to as an employee, the last race I went to work was in 2004 at Talladega. So it's a pretty good chance that you were probably there.
More than likely. Actually, 04. No, I was it the fall or the spring race?
It would have been that's a good question. I just know, I think
Tricky.
Kurt Busch was on the pole and we were doing really good. I knew that. So it would have been in the early in the year, I believe it was.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't there till the fall.
Gotcha.
It started in September.
Well, all right then.
Yeah,
so
buddy.
yes, Scott Trevisan says, we love us some Pam Ford.
What's happening, beer man?
Yes, if you probably recognize Pam Ford from hanging around Statesville, and she's been on the Sports Recap show many times with the Pam and Hamm.
Green eggs and ham.
That's right, exactly. So we got some of our friends tuned in. Rachel Rodman, she's down in Charlotte, and Tom Robinson up in Indiana, and Scott Trevisan, Statesvillian, but he's living now in Florida. So I guess he would be considered a Floridian, which is really where his roots are from. Anyway, Dickie Dennis, who is up in Virginia, and Dickie Dennis is no.
Dude, I didn't know who Dickie Dennis was until like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, all right. Did you get to see the video I put together?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
good interview.
that was stellar.
how cool is that? That was 2014 though.
That was funny.
Yes.
It was a long time ago. I mean, considering.
Well, but that was after you were already
It
gone.
was. It was a couple years, yeah.
And you wouldn't have been outside the track like policing him. That would be cool if we could get
but
one of those.
We'd have been like, what is that guy doing? From pit road.
You probably would have got a laugh out of it too, right? Because I mean, it's serious business. I
think
know.
we would have been more. For me, it was like bewilderment for a minute. Like, what is going on?
I know.
Chad Hyder's here too.
Oh, what's up, Chad? In Ohio. And I'm going to go down through this list again, but I know that like Alan Bestwick on TV, he was like, some idiot decided to climb the fence.
Yeah, he was pretty blunt about it.
He was. And,
It was.
and then toward the end of the race, he was kind of chuckled a little bit about it, but he was mad.
He was pretty upset about it. Yeah.
But some of the drivers, I can't remember if it was Bowman. I think it was Bowman in there. He was like, yes, inside the car, like a caution.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Dickie was actually trying to help them Fords out.
I think he did that night.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because then Harvick ended up winning, I think it was. Won the race and dominated the race, actually. I think it was Keselowski.
I'd have to look it up. I don't remember.
Dickie remembers. I
Yeah,
think
right. I'm sure he'd know.
Yeah, it was Keselowski.
Bird's eye view.
Yeah, that's right.
Did he go to jail? He went to jail, right?
Yeah, he went to jail.
He got in trouble.
Got in big time trouble.
Dude, don't do that again.
Yeah. He's definitely not allowed back in any track in
NASCAR
that.
sanctioned track.
Well, it's any track in that county in
It's not the whole
Horror
state.
County or something like that.
It's oh man.
Horry County.
I don't
Dickie,
know.
tell
Hang
us
on.
what county
I
you're
know,
in
somebody
there.
type that in.
Yeah, and so Scott, Chad Howder, he said, made it. Hey everyone.
KES, whatever that means. I
Steve
think he means yes.
Keselowski won. That's what that means. Keselowski, the 2-car, he won that race. I remember it now. And that's what Dickie's saying, KES. And Steve Baker, there is no fall or spring in Alabama. Yeah, that's true. And what's up, Terry Quinn out in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And Rachel Rodman in Charlotte, of course, like I said. And Tommy Falls, what's up? He's here in Statesville.
You can check out the studio in the background.
Yeah, man, this is nice in here. It's my first time in the studio in the new building.
Yeah.
Yes.
And holy cow, it's like really cool.
Big
They
difference.
did it up right. Yeah.
Henrico County.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. And what you see in this background is the studio. We have the stage is set up right over this way, which you can't see it. But we have all the soundproofing and stuff. And this is the historic Clock Tower building. This was a bank in 130 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
Yes.
Nifty.
Yeah.
Is the safe still in here?
You know what? That's a good question. I wonder where the safe was. It must have been back here. There's all kinds of like trap doors and things. There's a basement, and then of course there's the upstairs. There's two levels.
Now you're making me look under my seat because I'm about ready to. There's a lever back there.
You know what?
There?
After the show, we need to take you downstairs.
No, not tonight.
David's fallen in his seat before.
And I'm not going to tell you what you're going to see down there because I want you to see it.
What is it?
Oh, I know.
I haven't seen it.
You'll see. We'll go down there and see.
I've heard about it. I just haven't seen it.
Basements are creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now you can see where I was sitting during my Monday Country Ham Jam, which I just had here from 5 to 6, and I had to. I didn't have to pair it on my shoulder that time, but I had to hit my mic over here, and then I have to stop the song over here. So I got my arms spread out like this.
It's a good thing you're 6'5" or whatever.
And then my and then
1.5.
6'1.5. And then my leg hit the thing, and then my seat goes down. So then this is way up here. So I'm having to talk like this, and I'm still spread out.
Ham, the one-man band.
Yes, exactly. That's what it felt like.
His sign does say he's kind of a big deal.
It's a one-man circus.
Yeah, not my circus, not my monkeys.
That's right. So, so thanks y'all for joining us. We're just going to talk a little bit about racing, but we're just going to hang out and have a good time. But of course, Harvick won the race, and that was like Tom is saying, that was RYE's 200th win. Pretty cool.
Can you see it?
No. Is that Facebook or is that something else?
That is YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to just log in on your YouTube account.
We might have Billy Currington playing again if I try and do that.
Yes. Well, hit that home button twice and then swipe anything that you're not watching.
It wasn't on my phone.
I
had 17 browsers open and Billy
the
Currington was
basement
not
turned
one of
it
them.
on.
Oh. Yeah, I'm telling you, that basement's
The
a scary
basement
thing.
made it come on.
Right.
Yeah, so all right, so we're going to talk about some NASCAR. If you don't know me, I'm a 25-year NASCAR engine builder, recently retired, actually a year ago. So I was a 7-year jackman, and that was that. That's all the experience that I have. No, I'm owner of Hamscapes, and then I'm a radio personality here, I guess you could say. So the finishing order of what was the name of that race? That was the Darlington race, but it was the
something 400.
It was the something 400.
We're full of information tonight.
I meant to have that written down.
Was it the Toyota 400? Was it?
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was
know.
like it had to do with the people that are the Tracy. What was I saying this morning?
I wasn't listening. I'm sorry.
It was the name of the race. Remember, I was saying it was
today.
Right.
Yesterday.
Somebody help us out here. It was the something race at Darlington, the 400. It was the important people, the real important people race 400.
The real heroes.
The real heroes.
Oh,
that's what it was.
Go. Thanks, Chad. Chad Hyder chipped in with the real heroes.
Oh yeah, there we go. Real heroes.
I wasn't comprehending the question.
Yeah, I guess not.
Well, because I was concentrated on something else.
I got you.
Trying to get me hooked up with comments, man, so I can comment back.
She wants to be able to read too,
That's
know.
right.
I want to be involved.
Yes, that's cool. And I can turn this around if you need me to.
No, you're fine.
Okay, yeah, Scott says
so back to the
Real Heroes 400.
Yeah.
So the finishing order. Do you have that finishing order? Or I have it right here if you don't.
Harvick won.
Yes, Kevin Harvick was the first.
Yeah, I'll run down real quick. And I'll tell you, I was surprised with the 9th place finisher. So first was Harvick. Alex Bowman was second. Kurt Busch was in third. Chase Elliott 4th. Denny Hamlin was 5th. Martin Truex Jr. was 6th. Tyler Reddick is 7th. Erik Jones was 8th. John Hunter Nemechek was 9th.
How about that?
Like, that's really cool. And then Matt Kenseth made his return in the Cup Series after a 2-year hiatus in the 42 that Ganassi owns.
Yeah.
And I was reading a comment earlier. Harvick said he just never should have quit or retired or whatever you want to call it. Like, he just never should have left the sport. He left at a time when he was winning and, like, was kind of high on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
That's what. Hold on. Who said that?
Harvick.
Okay.
I think it was probably said by a couple of people, but I read Harvick.
Oh, he said that Kenseth should have never left.
Yeah.
I got you. I'm sorry. I was misunderstanding, but yeah.
He wasn't following the question.
No, it's all right.
No, I was. Anyway, so Scott says the next race is the Wednesday is the Toyota 500K.
It's the Toyota. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. So, alrighty. So yeah, that you know what? What do you think about Kenseth? Probably. I was surprised whenever he decided to get out of the car, but you know.
I was surprised, but I would also venture to say that there was a gainful venture on the other end of his exit of that seat. So I don't know. I don't know the details, but
kind of like Carl Edwards. You know, there's always.
I think Carl's just done.
Yeah, I think he was
at
done.
a point where he was just like,
I think he was also going to make some money off the deal to get out of the car.
He might have.
Yeah, pretty sure.
I mean, lucrative is good.
That's right. So the Kyle Busch started at the back of the field after failing tech twice.
2 times.
Yes. So the first NASCAR wanted him. He fixed under the car, whatever he fixed under the car. Had something to do with the rear toe or something. So he ended up. I don't even remember where he ended up. So he was
Kyle
to have started fourth. He would have started fourth, but
I don't remember.
yeah. So Scott's like, yes, thumbs up. And then Chevys and toys are at the top. Steve Baker says. Did I read when I read the rundown? Did I say there was Ford, the finishing order? There was 10 Chevrolet. That still makes sense. Ford 10, Chevrolet 7, Toyota 3. Okay, forget that. Ford 1, I guess. I don't know. All right, so that didn't. So in this,
It didn't go the way you wanted.
no,
it to.
it did not. I know. I'm like these. Sometimes my notes are like very confusing. That's why I really probably need to sit down and spend about an hour sorting through.
Yeah, right. I know, and I'm kind of crickets over here because I'm trying to find the
Terry,
whole rundown.
Yeah, Terry says the 38th. It was Kyle. 38th, Kyle started. Kyle Busch had a loose wheel late, and he was a lap down apparently.
Did he? He
Chad
was one
Hutter.
of the cars that got busted for lug nut violation, wasn't he?
Oh yeah,
They got fined.
yeah. That's in that's somewhere. Oh, here we are. That's cars with one lug nut not safe and secure was the 2211, 9542, and the 4. That's a $10,000 fine.
Yeah.
And then there was some with the 2 lug nuts
Oh, that's trouble.
not safe and secure. They were penalty. Crew chief suspended one race.
Whoops.
$20,000 fine. Oh my gosh.
Pocket
Okay.
change.
So when you were an official,
Mm-hmm.
what was your specific part that you would officiate that you had to watch for,
So I would work in the template department at the second station at the front of the car. So from the nose back to the top of the windshield. Found a lot of interesting configurations.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Different interpretations of how you're supposed to hold the template before they were all locked together, which was always fun. I had Chad Knaus walk up one day at Daytona, and he's like, "Yeah, you're doing it wrong. That's not how you do this." And he ripped the template out of my hand. And he's like, "Give me your block, and I'll show you how to do this." I'm like, "Whatever. Here you go. Make me some chocolate chip cookies while you're down there."
Yeah.
Okay, Chad.
Well, he was one of the best cheaters, I guess you
I'll
could
tell
say.
you, I learned a lot from watching him do what he was doing.
Yeah.
And what not to do or who to watch and why to watch him. I remember when I first started, it was so different than any of the other racing I'd ever been involved in. So I was like, I might have bit off a little more than I can chew here.
Yeah.
And ended up coming back. So I worked, I think, 4 races at the end of the 04 season.
Okay.
And came back for testing in 05, which was the last year of testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, man, I've got to figure this out. Because if not, it's just I'm not going to make it. You know what I mean? Like, it's sink or swim. So I went and found Tommy Baldwin and Ryan Pemberton. And I remember thinking, I'm going to find the 2 biggest cheaters in the garage.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yes. The Pembertons, especially, they were, yeah.
And they were generous enough to tell me enough of what I needed to know that I could put the rest of it together.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, it's just like, I felt like I had gotten to a turning point like a couple of weeks after that, and having what they told me, and adding to it as my career went on. But yeah, some of the discussions about, why are you doing this? What, and it was always the back and forth. Why are you giving me grief about it and this and that?
Sure. Well, because they're trying to play it off and act like they're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah. No, that's right. What are you talking about?
Just don't give us a hard time. Let us go. Let's let us side through.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine.
I can't help that shifted in transit or in the box.
Yeah, right.
I remember I forget if it was Doug or somebody else when not PPC. Who was the 32 car?
Yeah, I remember you talking about.
Yeah, and
that was Didn't Ernie? No, it was 36. I'm sorry. 32.
It was back when they were up like towards Hickory, but anyway, they came through somewhere.
Yep.
And tried to tell me that because the paint dried, the car got narrower in the front.
Oh.
And I said, "Oh, it's the Betty Crocker effect.
Yes.
I've heard about this." And they just all looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come up with something better than that."
Like when a cake gets cooked in the oven and it expands, and then when it cools down, it gets smaller.
It shrinks, right? So it does.
Like the whole Betty Crocker
edges,
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anytime they came through, I was like, "Hey, the Betty Crocker car."
Yeah.
Although it was the Tide car.
So Dickie says, "Do you see Kyle peel off the sticker off the wall?" Was that Kyle? I saw Truex, I think it was, got up against the wall. Or no, who was it? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Kyle must have peeled the sticker off, and then it hit the front of Truex's car. And then he was trying to get it was actually a sticker on the wall. Why would they put a sticker on the wall at Darlington where you know the cars are going to be getting their Darlington stripes and they're going to be scraping that sticker off? Well, they got it stuck on the front of a car. On the front of Truex's car, and it's stuck.
Was he trying to rub it off on the car in front of him?
Well, he actually made it happen. No, it was Denny Hamlin. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was Hamlin's car, and he actually was able to get behind another car and got it off the front of the car. So, fortunately for him. But Jake McVia, he's tuned in. He says, Kenseth is my new driver, was a Davey fan, 28 Texaco Hamlin, became a 42, so I root for the car. Good deal. I typically would do that too. The car and the team owners and the team. It's usually the same, even if it changes drivers. So Steve Baker says, I hope they don't have a lug nut violations when they go to one lug nut.
Golly. If they got a lug nut violation for that, they're pulling a yellow flag out because somebody's going to lose a tire.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy Fall says, I like the video of Chad telling Jimmy if they won the race to hit the wall with the rear of the car. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that too. And here's some of the can you see them on your phone?
Yeah. Tracy pulled them up for me.
Yeah. And if Tommy says, if you ain't cheating,
I was
you
reading
ain't
that.
trying.
That's a fact.
Yes.
That is a fact.
And y'all are welcome to read any of these comments. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Chad and Terry chimed in. Cal Wells, the 32, but it was PP something. It wasn't PPC because they were down in Mooresville.
Was it PPG?
No, that's a paint company.
I know, but I swear I remember. Because, see, when I first started at Roush Yates, it was Robert Yates Racing, we did engines for this team because what's the 32 car, Ricky Craven.
Yeah, Craven drove it, but PPC was down. It was a Busch team.
PPC.
That was Jason.
Leffler.
No. Jason. Oh my gosh, dark hair, mustache. Like, it was a blue and white car.
Yeah.
Golly, it's been a while
Fuller?
since.
No, that was Jeff Fuller. No, we're going to go
I know,
to so many different
around in circles. Everybody's going to be tired of listening to us talk about. We can't remember.
That's all good. So Jimmy Johnson was leading on the final lap of stage one, wrecked after contact with Chris Buescher, who was almost slowed down. Jimmy wasn't able to pass him. So Jimmy's currently a 100 race winless streak.
Yeah, Jason Keller.
Jason Keller, okay.
He drove for PPC, and then the 32 car was another. Beer man, come up with this. I know you know.
There you go. All right, so stage two, Brad Keselowski won that stage. He actually started from the pole also.
Keselowski, yeah.
Yep.
They drew from like a hat type situation, correct, for qualifying? Air quotes, qualifying?
Yeah, and so, and then now the next race, they're going to be qualifying. Well, we were talking about that earlier, how they're going to be running the next race. They're going to invert the field, basically. Was it the top 12?
Top 20. Top 20 gets inverted.
Yeah.
And then 21 through the end is as they finished, and any newcomers to the race will start behind Ricky Stenhouse.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Sadly enough, Ricky, I think, barely got up to speed on the first lap, and was I don't know what happened, if he lost it coming out of the turn, or if I don't know. I have no idea, but he didn't make it a lap. Which Ham's throwing things in the trash, guys. Sorry.
I know, right? Yeah, Paul says that was the channel lock car and Leffler. And what's up, Brad Downer? He's up there in Ohio, tuned in.
Hi, Dawn.
He says it's raining.
Dawn Clark.
In Ohio, yeah.
Where you at, Dawn? She says
Ladies' night.
Oh,
that's right.
Ladies' night. Yes, you should come in and join us too. So
Yeah, come on over, Don.
Of course, I'll be seriously outnumbered.
Yeah.
3 ladies.
You might as well just pack it up and let us run the show.
I know. I might as well.
You got to stay here because I don't know how to run the board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Paul Rodriguez is a big race fan. He's down in Port St. Lucie, Florida.
I got friends down there. I went to
you do?
high school with the guy that lives down there. Yeah.
Oh.
And his wife.
Would you like to divulge his name? Maybe Paul knows him. Maybe not.
Apparently, you mooned people when you got your phone out.
Oh,
Oh, gosh.
that's nice.
That was good, wasn't it? I don't. There's not a lot to see. It's just a little bit of.
We don't need to talk about that. God.
All right. Jason Keller drove the blue and white channel lock car.
Yep.
Paul says, okay. Tommy
And then-
Foss. Yeah, I actually was a jackman for that channel lock car 2001, but it was the Busch Series.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the Busch Series until they closed, I think. That was actually Sherry's dad's team.
Sherry.
Sherry Martin Truex. Sherry.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I'm drawing a blank tonight.
Yeah,
Somebody fill in the
too.
blanks for me.
After I, after I do my Monday Country Ham Jam, and then I do this, but in between, I'm like running around trying to get things hooked up.
All stressed out.
Yeah, getting
Gotta
stressed
go get
out.
hot dogs.
Oh, yeah, and then we had hot dogs tonight from Wilson's Weenie Wagon. Brought us some hot dogs.
It was good, too.
I should show my hot dog on the camera.
No, you should.
You still have yours. Yours has one bite.
Is it still wrapped up?
Well, I only got one bite
You
left.
got one bite.
You've
He
been
was
eating
in a
all
hurry.
mine.
No, I said you only took one bite.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's
Tracy ate it.
this.
You're at a supper
I
lunch.
had my own. That's
I
okay. I
guess.
brought him lunch.
Sherry
There you go.
Pollux. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Greg was the owner of the company or the race team that Jason Keller drove for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Paul says, "What brand am I
What
pulling
brand car are you pulling for?
for?" Well, let me see here.
Thank you,
Let me
Terry.
think about that. Let me look. I have to look in the mirror and see. I guess you could say I'm
It's
pulling for
backwards.
Ford. Yeah, it says Dorf.
Droff.
Droff.
Map
You're
Droff
right.
is my name backwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, see, I wore
Yeah.
this because of Pam Ford.
That's a bunch of crap.
I'm supporting Pam Ford.
it was
Yes.
a hint to see if you could tell who the special guest
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ham Ford. See.
He didn't even know he wore it.
So
So Jake is
What-
saying that Harvick's running the same car, which is confirmed at Darlington this week.
okay, so he's
which
definitely.
is yeah. Well, it's as confirmed as Jayski's made it.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be interesting because they
Steve.
took that thing right out of the box. Nobody had any shakedown time, no practice, no nothing. They just plopped them on the racetrack and said go.
Yeah, and so they ran 30 laps, and then they had a mandatory caution, I guess.
NASCAR caution.
And then they come in and change tires, took their time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that part about they were going to have the social distancing in the pit, so they were going to be limited to. I thought they were, and then I was like, okay, what happens if they have a flat tire or something? They're going to have to spring into action, or are they just going to go a lap down and do a little 10-minute pit stop, you know? But they actually did do pit stops during.
So did they
Cautions.
stagger them so that like the cars weren't in sequential
Yeah, I don't know.
pit
6
stops?
feet. 6 feet.
Yeah, I know.
I don't
and
know.
then
I didn't see any pit
it was-
stops yesterday, so I'm at a
I only
loss
saw
there.
one pit stop because I only
Gotcha.
watched the last 100 laps.
Mike Bear says, when I was at Newman's Garage last year, they had someone grilling up Oscar Mayer wieners. Made me really hungry. Maybe it was Wilson's Weenie Wagon.
Could have been.
Get 'em. Yes. He's got the best weenies in town. So Scott says Sterling won a Busch race at Bristol. Yes, in the 82 channel lock car. I remember that as a backup driver because Dave Steele could not race it. Yes. Dave Steele was who I started out as the jackman for. And then he decided that he just wasn't into it. He just wasn't going to be able to do it.
Really?
I remember going and finding him at Darlington. He was asleep in the van. You know, stuff like that. He just wasn't into it. He was somebody who was a sprint car driver down in Florida or something. I think he still does that. But
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, there was a pretty good opportunity for him to drive this Busch car. But
And he just didn't
Yeah.
want to take it.
yeah, so that year we ended up getting different people to drive, like Marty Houston and Ron Hornaday.
Yeah.
A bunch of different people ended up driving it. So
Interesting.
Steve Baker says if they ain't Dale with pigs marching and playing instruments, then it's not a hot doggy. I'm sure.
Valley
Steve.
Dale, yeah. I don't.
Yeah, there you go.
Steve, where are you from? Let
He's
us
in
know.
Virginia,
Is he
right?
up?
He's up there in Virginia. He's
Virginia.
The Mason-Dixon line.
and we've talked about the Martinsville hot dogs before.
Oh,
That's come up.
No,
I know a lot of people are like, those are so bad.
No. Is that what Dickie Dennis is talking about when he asked you if you ever had a wiener whistle?
Oh, I'm sure.
hell is
Yes. I don't know. There's
I
no
really
telling.
want to know the answer to that.
You know, he's kind of crazy.
Just
a
curious
crazy
what
guy.
a wiener whistle is.
Wiener
I don't
whistle.
know. We don't need to know. Don't type the answer to that.
Tommy
So
says,
Tommy-
yeah, go ahead and
I
read
was
that.
gonna say, Tommy says makes sense for Harvick to run the car again on Wednesday since it's already a proven winner. Yeah, I
Sure
I
does.
agree. I wonder what they'll do to it at the shop. What's your insight on that? What do you think?
As far as the running the car again,
Yeah, I mean, are they gonna like take it apart, reassemble? What do you think they'll do?
I think that they'll take the whole suspension apart and then they'll magnaflux everything to make sure it's all good, and then probably repaint, put it back together, and they yeah. I'm thinking that, and then of course the engine they'll swap engines,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because they've relaxed a little bit on the engines, what they can do. They don't have to run quite as many short blocks and that kind of stuff again.
Gotcha.
So they're able to have a little bit more to work with there. So
Mm-hmm. So it'll be a busy couple of days then.
oh
Especially
yes,
when you figure, because they've got to schedule everybody in like split shifts. You know what I mean? Like you can't have 9 guys working on the race car at the same time, type of thing. They've got to break up the schedule.
yeah. So Chad's asking me what Magnaflux. I guess I should have said exactly what the Magnaflux is. When you basically take the suspension parts off, they'll sandblast it or strip the paint off of it. However they do it nowadays, it's been so long. And they'll go and Magnaflux, meaning they shoot it with an electromagnet, and they have this stuff that goes into any cracks. It'll penetrate the cracks, and then you shine it with a black light, and that shows any possibility of a crack starting. Because the more you run metal, the more it becomes fatigued, the more you bend stuff, bend metal, and
Well, it
eventually
heats
it
up,
could
cools
crack.
off, and,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
too.
All of the
All those things
changes.
factor in.
Yep.
Dawn says, I like the camera angle, so you guys are bad, Dickie Dennis. You're the one that's bad there, buddy. So yeah, that was one of the things that we used to have to always do was Magnaflux parts, Magnaflux welds, and even engine parts. I mean, everything's taken apart. The engine's stripped down. The rod bolts are Magnafluxed. The rods, the pistons could be what's called Zyglo, which is the aluminum version of Magnafluxing. And it checks for cracks too, but you don't run them typically more than one time because they're aluminum. They'll tend to wear more. You can run rods several times. They're good quality steel. Crankshafts, these things you can run more than once, and camshafts.
There you go.
Chad said,
Change
"Well, I'll
valve
be
springs.
damned."
Change valve springs and stuff. Is that right? Yes.
He did.
He
Well,
did.
you know what, Chad, I guess I could talk more of that kind of stuff. I just always kind of take for granted that
everybody doesn't know.
and that's probably just because I was in NASCAR for 25 years, and I
Well,
just
it's
figure it's a common
It's
thing
your
that people know.
first language,
Yes.
and then English.
Yes. It is. I mean, it does really come natural to me to just
Hi,
talk about
Dawn.
that stuff. Yes. So from her living room, Jason Pam, where is Liz at tonight?
Liz is at home. I actually passed her
Oh.
coming in here, or she passed me rather when I was pulling out Alexander Street.
Yes.
So I followed her home like a creeper.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
She stalked
I
you.
did. I stalked her home, and then we talked for a minute before I came over.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Well, next time we'll have some weenies waiting for y'all. Y'all come in. That sounds bad. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we gotta
we
stop
had-
using the term we.
We had, Wilson brought in plenty of extra weenies for the guests. So,
I don't even know how to follow that up, Ham.
yes. All right. So
I
drivers.
just shake my
Oh.
head.
Yeah, I know. Like, what do you say?
Yes. All right. So some of the haulers and drivers' motorhomes are parked in the infield, spaced 6 feet apart. That's one of the things they did for this social distancing, and no family or friends allowed.
6 feet apart. That's closer than they usually are.
I know. I was thinking that too. That really doesn't make sense, does it?
No, if they did anything, they'd skip a spot or something.
I think.
6 feet's really not that far.
Yeah.
For an RV anyway.
Nah.
No, you can't even put a chair out in
That's just
6
what-
feet.
Open the door. Exactly.
Yeah. Bang! What was that? My neighbor.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Okay, so
It's not like they had more campers in there.
all people will be checked. Drivers arrive at least 4 hours ahead of time. So if one tests positive, there's time to get a sub. So there you have it.
Where are
That's
you
that for
reading?
those.
What page are
That's
you
on my page. That's on page 3, actually.
Oh, is that the one that I didn't get?
Yep. So no, you have it. I think it's on the back one. Each team had
Oh, I found it.
16 total members. The driver included. There are roughly 900 NASCAR people at the track. Driver and team members, officials, so on and so forth. And such and such.
There was a lot of
such.
people on a regular.
Yes. Yeah. So
Can you
I had,
imagine what a ghost town it looked like? I mean, I'm just.
Oh yeah.
I again didn't see any TV.
Just
but
totally weird.
holy
Yes.
Crow.
Yeah.
How did I become interested in being an official? Did you work? Did you do any other work in NASCAR? So, I got tired of living in New Hampshire. Like I had always wanted to live somewhere else as a kid. I used to tell my mom and dad that I should have grown up on a farm in. Actually, Terry, you'll appreciate this in Oklahoma. Seriously.
With all the
because
tornadoes.
because there's horses and it's like farmland, right? And that ever since I was a kid, that's where I've wanted to be, is out like in the middle of nowhere in a field. And well, some people tell me I'm out in left field. So I mean, hey, anyway.
Yes, it's kind of fitting, right?
Yeah, right. So
You're a left brain thinker.
yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
So I got to a point where it was just like I'm either gonna die miserable in New Hampshire because I didn't do something I wanted to do my whole life. And I'd been around racing, and I say around racing, literally, like, used to go and watch with my dad, drove a push truck at Star Speedway in New Hampshire. You know, I'd been around, but never been like a mechanic or anything like that. And I was at a race in New Hampshire in like 99 or something, maybe before that. And I'm like, I'm going to get on the other side of this fence because I was up in the grandstands. I'm like, I will be on the other side of that fence one day, and not by climbing it, Dickie Dennis.
Yeah. Exactly.
But so my dad actually had a really bad accident, and it was at that point where I just stood up and said, you know what, life is way too short to not go and try something. And I literally packed my stuff in a horse trailer. I had $500, I think, $550 to my name. I had made a couple of trips back and forth to, check things out. I found an apartment, whatever. And I came down here. I didn't have a job. I didn't have an inkling of what in God's green earth I was doing at that point. I think I had $75 by the time I got down here.
Yeah. Wow.
Just because I spent it all in gas in the truck. And I worked at Cracker Barrel. I worked at Big Al's. Remember when Big Al's was up here in Mooresville?
I do. Williamson was right around Williamson Road.
I'm sorry, Lou's, not Big Al's.
Oh, Lou's, yeah. I remember Lou's.
So I worked there for about 5 minutes. And
5 minutes.
it
was on Brawley School, I think.
Big Al's was, yeah. So I had a friend in New Hampshire who actually called a friend that lived down here that I didn't know really. I mean, I knew who the person was, but that was about it. And she got me involved with Team Caliber, which was Jack Roush's souvenir company. And I worked for them for a year and a half. And in that time, I met John Darby, who was the series director, the Cup Series director at that point. Had an interview, and just it took some time, but I would run into him at Lowe's or just out and about, and ended up being part of, I think, the diversity program. It wasn't billed to me like that at that point, but it was kind of in that time when they were doing some hiring and whatever, and I just happened to walk into it really.
Yeah.
But racing's always been an interest for me, so it was Jake.
You were born in 99.
I know, right? No, I appreciate that, Jake, but I was born a few years before that.
So Lou's was up there near Food Line, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
in that
it's
shopping
where
center.
David's still
I know.
worried
I
about
had
that.
to. I had to think about it. I'm
it's
like,
where Big Al's is now.
yeah. Okay.
Do you remember Jeff Vandermoss? He used to work for
probably.
the 17 when Kenseth was driving that.
Yeah, I remember the name.
He actually bought Lou's. I think he bought it, or somebody bought it, and then Vandermoss ended up with it, but he ran that bar for a little while.
Oh, okay. So Dickie Dennis sent me this picture of the Wiener whistle.
Oh.
There you go.
God almighty.
You can have it for $6.
You can keep it. That's actually really funny.
He said they're going to think I'm terrible.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so...
And
I saw his Facebook video yesterday, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The one he chugged. Is that the one? The
Yeah.
beer?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought he was going to
no.
do something else with that. I bet you after he chugged that beer, never mind, I ain't going to say that. He had a can ready for something else. Yeah, so.
Crazy.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the long and the short of how I got to where I ended up.
So Paul says you guys have never had wieners from Rhode Island. Would that be Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
Rhode Island on my horse.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yep. So Dawn says, I have been trying to think of John's last name for months. Darby. Thanks, Pam. Hash couldn't answer that question. So Steve says, I saw that wiener whistle. And Scott says, wow, what a great life story. It's not what you know. It's who you know. It's who knows you. Or it's not who you
Or
know.
something.
Something like that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
got it.
what
I'm
did you
sure.
just say?
I totally butchered it.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe I should start
It's
over.
not who you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, trying to think of John. Yeah, John
Oh,
Darby. He was actually one of the coolest guys I've ever worked for. Super fair, super knowledgeable, and he came from Rockford, and like him and Billy B and all those guys used to race together up there. Bob Hacker and like some of the older officials that I not older, like old time.
When
Worked with them during the same time that I was there. How do I
Yeah.
say that
Veteran.
without sticking my
see,
foot
when
in
I,
my mouth? Yeah,
The
there you
veteran.
go.
right.
The old guard. However, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Bumble.
It
The
seemed like when I
seniors.
started in NASCAR, everybody, all the officials and everybody were all like from Charlotte or from this area, pretty much.
Right.
And they had been in NASCAR for, who knows how long
Years,
since
yeah.
it started.
Yeah.
Yeah, way back in the day. So, yeah. So anyway, what else we got to talk about? All the races. The next race coming up is going to be Sunday at
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday
sorry.
at Darlington.
My goodness, I'm backwards here. I'm thinking Sunday, Wednesday, and then we got Charlotte.
2 races in Charlotte.
2 races in Charlotte.
And then they go to Bristol, which actually starts the Sunday only races. At the end of the month on the 31st. So
So you traveled when you were in the NASCAR, Pam?
me, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, you traveled because somebody asked.
Yeah, Jake. No, So any of the officials that I worked with traveled, generally to all the races. There were a group of guys that we lovingly, and these guys were awesome, but they were all out of California, and they were a little bit older. So, and I say older, I'm
Yeah.
pushing the age that they were. But we used to call them the California Raisins, but they loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing, and they just, so there were some regional people, but I'd say about 90% of the official population was full time, and during those years there were no weekends off, unless the series had the weekend off. So I think what were there 3 weekends off, or 2?
Yeah,
I don't
at the
even remember.
most.
Yeah.
Seemed
So,
like it.
yeah.
Pam, when you went,
Crazy.
were an official. Jake McVee's asking when you were an official.
She answered that.
Oh, you entered that. Okay.
Yeah, I got him.
And
then Don, I have a great picture of John in my archive sitting in your trailer. He's such a cool guy, man. I miss him. I miss him.
I mentioned to Chad that my brain is fried at this point.
You are kind of like.
He's frazzled.
I'm a,
Do you
He
need
didn't
a nap,
eat all of his
Ham?
hot dog.
well,
Yeah, feed that
all
man.
right, so I'll tell my little story. What's up?
Are you gonna
this is-
tailgate outside the Charlotte race? Scott wants to.
I'm gonna say hey to Tater right quick. Tay Childers.
Oh,
He's
Oh,
tuned in.
Tay.
90-year-old Tay.
Oh,
he just
hi.
turned 9.
Yeah, just turned 9. Awesome guitar player.
Very cool.
He's got a new guitar for his birthday, so yeah, that is great. So here's my story, and I'm gonna stick
And
with
you're gonna
it.
stick to it.
So this week's been an extremely busy week, and I've been doing everything from moving furniture to mowing grass, of course, to working on things or whatever. So one day I go to move this refrigerator from this house, and it barely fit through the door, and it was a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be. I had my hand trucks and everything, and Tracy, and I'm trying to move this heavy refrigerator, and my back. So the next day, long story short, we got it moved, but my back is killing me. So today I actually took 3 ibuprofens, and I don't usually take anything.
I asked him when I got home, have you taken anything for it?
No.
Yeah,
I'd just rather
so-
complain about it.
Well, and I should have went to the chiropractor this morning, but I didn't because that's what it takes. I'll go to the chiropractor, and then I'm done.
Well, here, lay down. I'll jump off the top rope.
Okay. Yes.
I already told him twice I'd walk on
I'm
it.
telling you, I walk out of the chiropractor and I'm like, oh, I feel like a new man, and I'm fine. But
Yeah.
it's just until I do it, it's like pain, and all that good stuff. So
Well, go to the chiropractor.
yeah,
Don't
and
be
Tommy,
stubborn.
Tommy knows. He says it. Yeah, I should. He says it should be tired as much as it goes Ham.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
Your brain, not your back.
well, that too.
Yeah. It's all attached. So Scott
Yeah.
Scott says he first met Darby at the old Rockin' and Racing on 150. I
yeah.
missed the highlights of that place
I
by
used
like
to
2
go-
months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I moved into town a couple months after they closed.
I used to go do karaoke there all the time.
And Jake says, "Drink a Corona, you'll feel better."
Oh yeah. Well, they do say alcohol kills this virus thing.
Oh my God! So does a bunch of other stuff. Like here's some hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Now, how
but
does
you
your
just can't
back and a
drink that.
virus have anything to do with each other?
They don't. We just make weird correlations to
Yeah.
make people laugh.
Well, I'm thinking that might mean I need a beer, to help my back.
Oh, yeah.
Have two, it'll make you sleep better.
Scott's asking me, I actually thought, there you go. I actually thought about this, Scott. Are you going to do a NASCAR chat Thursday or wait until next Monday? So here's the deal. Thursday night, we have the sports recap show here in the studio at
that's right.
7
You've
now.
also got your
Oh, they moved it back?
show.
Well, I have my show from 4 to 6, and then they moved that to 7. And so I won't be able to use the studio, but, I'm going to think about doing one maybe on Thursday. Wednesday night, I have my,
Bluegrass.
it's the Piedmont Folkway radio show here in the studio.
Oh, are
so
you
I'll
doing
be,
that?
It
yeah.
just started last week with the
Yeah,
first
I
week.
talked to Don and Liz, I think the day, oh no, it was the
Yeah.
day it was happening.
Y'all should come and hang out.
It was good.
They told me that, and I went home and went to bed because I was tired like you are tonight.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just going home.
Well, yeah, so I'll be here Wednesday night, and then I'll be here Thursday
Cool.
night, and then Friday night. So
Every night but tomorrow.
It was a busy week at the studio.
yeah, tomorrow's going to be my work in the shop day, and Jason Wood's going to come over and help me in my shop. So yes, it's going to be a busy week, but I'll get through it.
Yeah, we all do.
That's right.
Jake says, I hope fans come back soon. It looks like Pocono, but who knows? Yeah, I read a headline that said the same thing. I didn't read the article, but that'll be interesting to see how they manage that. And I was joking around during a conference call today at work. The two guys that I work with in the Mooresville office, they watch, they're cool. They ask questions and this, that, and I kind of giggled and I said, I don't know that it will be a whole lot different. And because there's not like an overwhelming amount of fans in the grandstands all the time, like, remember Bristol like 10, 15 years ago and you couldn't get a ticket?
Oh yeah,
So it's not like that anymore.
you're on a
And
waiting
it's-
list for a year.
Yeah. So,
Sure.
I mean, I'm wondering, like, do you think that they could actually do some social distancing in the stands somehow or another? I mean,
Right.
why not?
Why not?
Well, in my opinion, only 50% of the people that are really interested are going to come anyways because they're scared of the virus.
Well,
That's a possibility.
that
yeah.
is
you know,
true.
so they won't even have to worry about distancing themselves because people are going to distance themselves anyways.
I
Yeah.
thought about the
Yeah.
exact same thing you're talking about, and I also thought that what if they're going to have a line at the bathroom, they're going to have to deal with a line at the concessions.
The concessions and I
So
mean,
it
keep the
just turns
concession stands
in-
closed.
Yeah,
You bring your own food in.
yeah,
They might lose a few dollars on a hot dog or
yeah.
a few or whatever.
beer.
But I mean, I think there's ways to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they're investigating them.
And they probably
You know.
are, and they're probably being PC at the same time because there's, if they started doing that, then there's going to be people like, oh, you can't do that.
Right. And
Of course.
NASCAR is the first sport back, like on TV, and other than dirt racing. I know they've been, they've been active here in the last couple of weeks. But as far as national sports, I think NASCAR's first.
Yep, I believe so. I saw somebody put a post about that, and then somebody else said, "Oh no, they've been doing MMA or something like that." And it's like,
MMA did start, yeah.
It's like,
That's right too. I did see some of that. Saturday
but
night.
I don't know. I think this is it's a different type of sport, in my opinion, of course.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
agree. But I
motorsports.
mean, the crowd. I think I don't want to call it crowd control, but crowd management, might be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Jake says maybe they'll
Temperature checks.
Yeah.
they'll just have an ultra red.
Denied. Access
Yeah.
Yeah,
denied.
it'll be like the tire droppers.
Yeah.
Steve's laughing at me. Bring your own food. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've even got less cameramen, so they have drones.
They can bring their own hot
But
dogs,
But they have.
weenies.
Yes, they could be.
Wilson
yes.
can cater.
There we go. Talking about the wieners again.
See, they could do drone food delivery. No contact food delivery.
Yeah.
Like Burger King.
Yes.
Burger King, no
Well, here's the
contact.
thing. It doesn't somebody have to man the drone, or not man the drone, but control the drone,
Yeah, but they can do that from wherever.
It's a
'cause
remote, babe.
There's a camera on the drone.
Well, there's zoom lenses on cameras.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. What are you talking about? Well, you figure,
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
they can. Never mind. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
we
say
could
that.
we could have another conversation about all
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
Who the heck cares about some jackwagon beating up somebody else? That's like every day. What? What is he talking about?
Steve Baker, I don't know.
I
It's
know.
funny.
Yeah.
He's crazy. He gets going on stuff. It's funny. Let's see what here.
Oh, Paul says that Linda Batley Jenks sent me a link from Pocono. I'll messenger it to you right now.
Yeah, I just got something from Paul. It might be the same thing. Pocono Raceway is aware of Governor Tom Wolf's response regarding the status of our NASCAR sanctioned races scheduled for late June. We are very appreciative of all the collaborative efforts of the governor's office and NASCAR. Our staff continues to work with both parties and hopes to have additional details shortly. Once those final details are known, we will inform our fans directly. So some of the races have been canceled, like all the races in Iowa in 2020. But I guess that kind of mostly pertains to the other races besides the Cup Series.
So the only thing they're doing as far as the Cup Series goes out
Wieners.
west, I know they've gone nuts on the chat.
We're still talking about wieners. Oh my gosh.
This is every week.
I know.
RD up
I
in
know.
Michigan.
Is that where he is?
He says people up there, up the north, do you think a bear would be bad to do? A beer, I think he means a beer. Me, I only like the warmer weather, maybe younger and older setting sections in time. I have to kind of decipher what he's saying. I think he must type really fast or something
Maybe.
like that. Yes.
Or you know what he might do is that talk to text.
Oh, that very well could be. And he doesn't understand his Michigan accent.
It's
I've talked to
true,
him on the phone. So
because they certainly don't understand Southern or New England.
yeah.
Don
True.
Clark says, Steve, the first Winston I went to, I showed up with a Michelob and a big pack of Oreos. I was set for the day.
Okay, I've understood.
There you go.
Too
What is it?
funny.
He says he only likes the warm weather. He only likes beer in the warm weather.
Oh, I see.
And then he says maybe they'll have a section for younger people and a section for older people.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, that makes sense.
That's actually a really good time. I'm reading
Good
and
idea.
talking at the same time. Yeah, a really good idea.
Yeah.
Like by age groups or something, because there are age groups that they're saying are more susceptible. So
True.
Mm-hmm.
Very
hey,
true.
that's not a bad idea.
Oreos and beer. Yeah, I don't know about that combination of Oreos and beer. I was wondering about that myself.
She was
Yeah,
set.
That's good though.
Yeah, she was good.
It's whatever you like. I just don't like. I can eat sweets with beer now, but I used to. I was like,
not so much.
I like salty stuff or whatever, or just
Well, beer is
pretzels
sugar
and-
anyways.
Yeah.
I'll eat
Yes.
pizza with my beer. I like that.
Yeah, pizza and beer. That sounds good. I might get some of that right now. How about beer? How about pizza and hot dog? I'm sorry, beer and hot dogs.
Pizza and hot dog.
I don't know why I said pizza.
you can wrap the hot dog up in the pizza. You're on set.
I had this Stromboli thing for lunch. I mean, it's gosh.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course I end up eating the rest of Tracy's because she doesn't eat much. Thank you.
It was not one beer, John.
I was wondering if she just had one beer with those or what. So
Well, she was trying to
She
be
didn't
ladylike
say
and not
one
give all her
beer.
secrets
She just
away.
said she had.
She showed up with
She showed up
Michelob.
with a Michelob.
oh, okay.
She showed up with Michelob.
So all the races at Kansas are also postponed, as well as Michigan. The Xfinity race in Mid-Ohio and Texas truck race is postponed. The following revised schedule for May the 30th to June 21st, and the Bristol Xfinity Series is going to be on May 30th, and the 31st is the 500 lap race, and June 6th is the Atlanta Trucks and Xfinity, I guess all in one day, and then the 7th, the next day will be the Atlanta Cup race.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's all. And then June the 10th is Martinsville, and then the first night race in 73-year history of the track at
Really?
Martinsville. How
Wow.
cool would that be?
That's gonna be cool.
That might be one we have to.
That'd be a
if we
field trip.
can.
Can Dickie go to that one?
Oh,
Is he banned from that one?
it's
It
out,
is Virginia,
right?
but
oh,
it's not in Henrico County.
Yeah, there you go, Dickie. You're gonna be able to make that race. Yeah, he actually had tickets. He said he was going to go to Martinsville, and then of course it got canceled. So I wonder if he can move those tickets to the next race. We'll have to find out. I bet he can.
Maybe.
Yes. And then June the 13th is the Miami, the Trucks Xfinity's the 13th, and then another, what is it, X30? Okay. The replaced Xfinity race at Iowa is going to be in Miami on the June 14th.
Oh, so they're going back to back in Miami, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
apparently, and then they're also going to run the Cup race at the same day. Looks like.
Phew, I hope it doesn't rain.
Yeah, I know, right? And then on June 20th
Wow,
is,
that's a crazy schedule. That's
Yes.
like literally like a rain delay schedule.
yeah, it looks like June 20th is the ARCA, Talladega ARCA, and the Xfinity race, 2:00 and 5:30. Yeah,
And then the 21st is the Cup race. So they're not going anywhere west except to what is it, Vegas, and to Phoenix for the end of the year race.
okay. I bet
Everything else
California
is-
won't let them race. just saying.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't read anything on that. But yeah, so like Iowa, they're not. I don't think they're going to Chicago. They're going to Kentucky. I looked at the schedule real quick and thought it was kind of interesting the way they had rearranged it so that nobody's traveling too far west.
Yeah. So Scott says Martinsville at night with no Jesse Jones hot dogs. Jesse
God,
Jones.
man, you guys can have those. You want to talk about a pink rocket? Those things are nasty.
Yes.
Ugh.
Steve, I've actually had beer and ice cream before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
so,
really?
True.
yeah, I have.
Somehow I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
Somebody said soak your hot dog in beer.
It's like doing bratwurst in beer. It's good.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. In that case, yeah.
Jake said that. And then Terry, Hash likes to dip Oreos in his sweet tea. They're actually, what is it, Chips Ahoy? He says he hasn't eaten them in 2 years, but I don't know
Chips
if I
Ahoy
believe that.
in the rum.
Yeah.
It's Dickies. I like dark chocolate while drinking beer.
It's
Yeah,
actually
good.
a good combo.
Yeah,
He's not wrong.
I could see that. It's that bitter dark chocolate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Martinsville. So RD4, awesome seeing Kevin Harvick with the win. My spelling is the worst. Thank you for for my wording.
Distributing.
I got you,
Already
RD.
my
I
wording.
got you.
Yeah,
She's a good translator.
I
She's
have
got
to-
ham practice.
yeah, that's true.
The only
So,
track that
yeah.
Dickie can't go to is Richmond. Man.
Yeah,
Uh,
so read Dawn's comment too.
What's the chicken place across the street there that everybody dies for?
Where at?
At
Darling-
Richmond.
Richmond, okay. oh,
Church's Chicken.
Church's Chicken,
Everybody's
okay.
like, did you go over there this week? No. It means I gotta walk across the street. I'm not going out.
Dawn says that was when the Winston was sealed during the day and it was hot. Yeah, you
Mm.
never had to use the restroom in those days, but I used
Had
Oreos.
Oreos.
Yeah, I
She
had
didn't use
Oreos.
them.
I
She
mean,
had them.
I said
Nut.
that.
Hey, I'm taking
I
a
was
nap.
thinking used Oreos. How'd you use them? Did I go to the
He
bathroom? I
definitely
don't know.
needs a
Man
break.
needs a nap. Peanut M&Ms is always good, sweet and salty. There, yeah.
Hey, Jana.
So, yeah, what's
you
up,
doing,
Jana?
girl?
Yeah, hanging out in Florida.
Florida.
Florida. Dickie said, I'm planning on Talladega. I need to go to a race as soon as they're open back up again. We need to just go.
Beer and
Talladega's a
cook.
good one to go to.
Yeah, it is.
Beer and what?
Cooks, whatever. Beer and Cooks, yak.
No, I don't know. Busch Gardens in Paul says Busch Gardens in Tampa has a beer tasting. They give you beer samples with different treats that you wouldn't think would go together.
You know what? I think I'm going to go have me a beer and the rest of my hot dog.
What are you skipping out? You can't leave.
Y'all go ahead and continue. I'm going to go get me a.
He just can't hang.
Ham's blood pressure or blood sugar just hit the floor. He's about ready to pass out.
Yeah, so Scott says he heard Sonoma, Chicago, and Richmond will lose a race. Mm-hmm. Oh, lose a race. Gotcha.
Loose lug nut.
Yeah, loose leg nut. That's one of these words, lose and loose. People get
They
that
get
one
them
messed
backwards
up.
all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's
So
5
there you-
years if Dickie gets caught on the Richmond property. Yeah, man,
Yes.
don't do that. We're
worth
not
it.
endorsing
It's not
you
worth
going to
it.
Richmond.
I bet there's a wanted poster up for him or hanging out there at Richmond. You walk through the gates to get into Richmond.
The only person
It's a picture of
banned.
him up on the fence. If you see this guy,
Richmond Racetrack's most wanted.
oh,
Yes.
Lord.
I'm gonna have to retitle my video to a more searchable title because it's got like 200 something views, but it's just because I was like the Richmond fence climber. So probably nobody's going on Google saying Richmond fence climber. So I have to do it.
I
Like,
think you gotta like put it out there or something because he was.
It's
you
pretty
were famous,
entertaining.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were a lot of people talking about him, so
Right.
you need to remind him. Get him. You need to do like a highlights reel and send it to somebody. I'll
Yeah.
come up with a name.
All right, we'll figure that out.
Get a highlights reel of all the wacky things or something that's gone on at the racetrack.
You know, I actually, when I put that video together, I went on and downloaded that race, and I downloaded the comments from Alan Bestwick and all that stuff. And I thought, you know what, if I put this on my video, then
well, then you're gonna be.
it's going to be a copyright
Yes.
strike and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I skipped doing all that stuff.
Probably
Did an
smart.
excellent job.
Probably
Yeah.
smart.
David did an excellent job on
Yeah,
that
it was
video.
a good video.
Well, thank you.
Steve wants to know when Bowman Gray is open again. I don't know that they will open. Honestly, there's a lot of tracks that. So,
Strucker race.
huh?
Oh,
What
go ahead.
was your
No,
favorite
go ahead.
restaurant and bar on the NASCAR circuit, Pam?
Oh man.
And why?
So, Elizabeth's Pizza in Martinsville, because it was just a little dive Italian pizza place. It was really good though, and it was not gourmet, but it was just, I don't know, it was one of my favorites.
Home cooking, kind of.
Nah, I wouldn't even go that far. But and then like to call out a really nice place, there's a good Italian place in Dover, just down the street from the track. And then I liked a lot of the restaurants in California because they were like fresh food, farm to table stuff. And then my favorite was always going to Texas because of the steak.
Oh,
Yeah, you put a big fat filet mignon on my plate and a potato, I'm happy.
I heard that. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so Dickie Dennis does a lot of this kayaking. He says kayaking with the fence climber. Cool title.
There you go.
And then we were talking about the chicken. I think this is where Steve Baker comes up with. Wasn't that the Stroker Ace was what the movie Stroker Ace was based on? Don Clark.
Oh, because she said that Church's Chicken was one of Loy Allen's sponsors when he drove for the team that Don worked for.
Yes. Did y'all read one from Jake? Says best part of a NASCAR race is the driver's accessibility. Hope that comes back also. Yeah. And then,
I didn't see that one.
yeah, so a lot of the drivers nowadays don't want to be near the fans for some reason, but that's just part of their deal. Like,
Yeah.
kind of like Danica was like, I don't get paid to do this.
Oh, but you do.
But you do.
But you did.
Yeah, but you did. That's it. That's
Yeah.
the key word there.
Yeah.
Paul says, I bet Mr. Hendrick doesn't want Jeff Gordon to talk about the Hendricks team's cars anymore. I don't know. I was listening, but maybe because they were running good and then all of a sudden they were wrecking. Maybe that's why he's saying that. I'm
kind of like
assuming.
jinxing them.
Yeah, jinxing them.
Yeah, right.
That's probably it. Jana says Lions near Michigan.
Lions New Michigan. I don't know that one, but there is an ice cream place in Michigan.
It says Lions was the joint.
Is that it? I don't know.
Chad says Lions was
Yeah.
the joint.
But there
So
is
apparently
a
Chad knows of it.
badass ice cream joint, and if you didn't get there, you just weren't in Michigan.
Just SOL.
And then there was another place on the lake called Jerry's, I think. And was it Jerry's? Right on the lake. Do you guys remember when all of the electricity went out, like from New York all the way across to Michigan? I want to say it was 2004 because I was still in the souvenir truck. And like it blew almost not nationwide, but it was like that whole grid in the Northeast just blew the electricity out. We had just placed our order at Jerry's and no power. We're all sitting there staring at each other in the dark, like, what do we do now?
Yes.
And they weren't sure what they were going to do with the race the next day, and it was kind of weird. It was just like, what do you mean there's no electricity from here to the East Coast?
Yeah, that's kind of a deal breaker there.
Yeah, it was a little weird. Like, what in
Yes.
good night happened?
Rachel said she's got to leave. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you,
Bye,
Rachel.
Rachel.
We're gonna
Bye,
head out
Rachel.
pretty soon. I had actually I sent Strickland a text, and I was saying that could he give us a call in tonight, but he had a busy night, so he wasn't able to do it. He actually texted me back probably 15 minutes ago. So, but I think we're gonna wrap it up unless y'all got something else you want to talk about, any more questions. But otherwise,
The brownout, yeah, Don,
brownout
that
of
was crazy.
2004. Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah. Good night, Rachel. Thanks for everything you do.
So apparently Lions is a steak place.
Never been to that one.
Yeah, I don't recognize that
No.
one.
And then Paul mentions they used to go to
Crab
Old Milk Crab House in Dover, and there's another place that is just outside of
Squeal.
Dover,
All right.
and super good, like, backyard type stuff. They'd put down the brown paper bags on the tables and just kind of like do a boil dump.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
it was
going to a
fun.
place like that because they do the crab boil or
Yeah.
the whatever, the
The-
corn and
the-
everything.
Crab and corn and sausage and whatever. Yeah.
So Pam, Jake is asking, what's your most memorable moment?
Not getting hit on pit road by Juan Pablo Montoya.
It's an Indy driver, right?
Yeah, he used to be, and he came down pit road at, I don't know, way too fast, 100 and way too fast.
Oh.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened in the car, but something broke, and I was on the service side of the wall, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, man, he's literally coming in hot. I jump over the wall and just kind of cover my head, and I'm like, God, please don't let me die. And he hit the service wall and bounced off of that, and I looked up, and I was like, oh, God.
Near-death experience there.
And then there was another time I was actually out on pit road. Jeff Gordon was behind Joe Nemechek, and I was still on the right side of the car, and they pulled an audible, and two-tire stop all of a sudden. And I was left without the jackman, because I used to almost like grab the jackman and go around the front of the car with him. All I hear is the RPMs come up, and I'm like, that's not right. That's too soon. I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, here comes Gordon. So they're pulling out together, and literally I'm in between the two of them, and I froze. They had to, one of the guys came out and got me. Usually it's the jackman that sweeps all the debris and whatever off the pit stall. And I was just standing there like this with my eyes just like wide open. And he walked over, he goes, "Are you all right?" I didn't even say anything to him. I just shook my head.
Yeah.
He goes, he like pushed me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm okay now."
I'm still
It was
alive.
so weird, though. Yeah, it took me a minute to figure out that I didn't die.
Dickie Dennis says, I bet you can get up with Ryan Newman. He can get you all the wiener whistles you want, Dave.
Yeah. I know. I saw Steve Baker said he's going to open up a barbecue place.
Henry Benfield.
And
that
what did he
man.
say? He was going
Where
to call
is
it
he?
Squeal.
Oh, introduce me. Okay, I got
Call
it.
it Squeals. He's going to open up a barbecue place called Squeals.
Squeals.
Yeah. And and play banjo music.
There's a place in.
Just don't do it in Georgia.
Yeah. So, do you know Henry Benfield? Actually, I need to get Henry on here.
Henry will tell you some stories.
Piccolo player, yes.
Hey, Gianna,
Remember Henry.
what's the slogan on that barbecue place you took me? Something about our butts.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, already says night all going to get it in time to. Okay. I'm going to let Tracy read that.
Good night, all. Great getting the time to watch. Thank you, David. Tracy Hamm, the king of big deals.
Yeah.
He's reading right.
Oh, yeah.
He is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
my
you
sign.
moved your sign.
I did.
Yeah.
Goon.
I know, right? That's on my desk here in the studio, and when
You're
I have my
funny.
show, I put that on there. So this is the other side.
So you've got a two-sided sign.
I do, yeah. And
Squeals
So he has to
fork.
remind himself he's a big deal.
yeah, it's
Somebody's
a
gotta do it. I mean,
joke.
come on.
Well, it's the
That's funny.
It's the whole.
Got to toot your
not
own
sure how
horn
to put
sometimes.
this. I did that to Shannon Vieira come in at the other studio, and then Kathy was telling, he's kind of a big deal. And I said, yeah, I'm not sure how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. But then I had to explain because I don't think she's seen the movie. So I was like, okay, here's the deal.
Yeah, well, you got to tell the whole story.
It's
then.
a movie reference, but yeah, it's just to be silly because that's me.
Can you
Tracy,
smell our butts a mile away,
Yeah,
Jana?
I
That was
remember-
Jana's
That's
answer.
it. That's it. Yeah.
I remember seeing
That's
that.
it. It was in a picture I gave you
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
when I was there for my birthday 2 years ago.
Well, she says they ate there today. Is that not the place we went to when we were down there?
Is that in Florida?
You did not go there. She and I did.
Are you sure?
I'm not positive.
You're not allowed. It's kind of like the
I don't know.
unwind over here.
Well, you'll eat no more. You go home. You've been here for an hour. You'll get no more food.
You go home now. You eat vegetable.
Yes. No more buffet for you.
You eat too much.
Buffet closed.
I'm so happy to hear the restaurants in Florida are back open.
Yeah.
All right then.
Were they like completely shut or were they doing takeout?
They were the same thing we were. Yeah.
How do we get started talking about? Oh, I know because somebody asked a question about restaurants. Well, I'm gonna go.
talking about hot dogs all night.
I'm gonna finish my hot dog and drink a beer.
You should go to sleep.
Oh, maybe I will. Maybe it'll help me sleep. Well, if
Porky's.
y'all wanna-
That's the name of the
Porky's.
place.
That,
Porky's.
Y'all want to continue the show, or do you want to wrap it up?
No, man, because we're just gonna sit here and
We're
Okay.
just gonna look at each other
laugh
All
at
right.
each other and
Well,
say stupid
and
things.
just read the stuff on here.
I'm gonna consider
Again.
maybe
Yes.
maybe Thursday evening. I'm not positive because I'd have to do it from
It's TBD.
to be determined. I'll have to do it from my what's up? Just Super Jason just joined us, but we are just about to wrap it up there, buddy. Go back and watch the video and comment.
What's a fried lice?
and I will, chicken fried lice. Yes.
Oh my God.
we can. We
You
just had
didn't
a.
really just
We
ask.
we just went through this whole. You'll go home. You know,
You,
more
no
buffet.
for you.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we're going home now.
yes. All this
Oh
talk
my
about
gosh.
food's got me maybe a little hungry. So we'll see about I'll post and determine on Thursday night because I know I'll have my. Thursday we got a band coming in here and then we'll have a sports recap show. But I'm all set up at home to do in my shop, to do the chats. So, all right, well, everybody have a great weekend. Gosh, a great rest of the night and the rest
Or
of the
have a
week.
good weekend if you're all on vacation.
This is what happens
Right.
when you retire. You just lose track of.
Here,
See,
let
I
me
work-
help.
And for us people that work every day,
Yeah. Well,
Thanks,
go-
Jake.
Yes.
Jake says 5 stars.
All right, so hit like if you like this video and tell your friends about us and find me on Instagram and Twitter on DHamIam, all that good stuff, and also DHamIam.com, and you'll see the notes if you want to go more in depth of the notes that I have here for this.
the particulars.
Yeah, the more in-depth particulars. We just like to hang out and have a good time. I want to thank Pam Ford so much for hanging out with
Yes,
us
ma'am.
No
tonight.
problem, y'all. Thanks for having me.
And Tracy's did a decent job herself. Thank you very
Adequate.
much. Yeah.
Good God, you two.
Slightly
God
surprising.
forbid
How
y'all
about
give
this?
a compliment.
How about this? Surprisingly sufficient. All right. Thank you so much.
God.
And
Y'all have a good night.
Yes. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.